make your public speaking instantly better than everybody else. Now imagine if I started like this.
If you've ever felt stuck in your own head, second-guessing every move you make, then this video is going to completely flip your world upside down. Because today, I'm going to reveal the one skill that separates confident leaders from people who live their entire lives playing it safe. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to understand why being bold isn't just helpful. It's absolutely essential for transforming every area of your life. Think about it for a second. Every single opportunity you've missed, every connection you didn't make, every moment you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up, what was really holding you back? Fear. The fear of looking foolish, of being rejected, of standing out in ways that might make people judge you. But here's what I'm going to show you today. That fear isn't protecting you. It's imprisoning you. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine walking into any social situation and feeling completely at ease with yourself. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you genuinely don't need their approval to feel good about who you are. Imagine having conversations where you say exactly what you're thinking, where you take risks that others wouldn't dare take, and where people naturally gravitate toward your energy. That's not some fantasy. That's what happens when you master the art of boldness. Now, before we dive deep, I need to be completely honest with you. This isn't about becoming some reckless person who acts without thinking. Real boldness is strategic. It's about understanding human psychology so well that you can navigate any social situation with confidence and authenticity. It's about becoming the person who others look to for leadership, not because you're demanding attention, but because your presence naturally commands respect. Here's something fascinating that most people never realize. Throughout human history, the individuals who shaped the world weren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented.
I personally think that men are basically all the same. Men just want a nice, sweet, supportive woman.
They were the ones who were willing to take action when others hesitated. They were bold enough to step outside their comfort zones and do what needed to be done, regardless of what anyone else thought about it. This brings us to a fundamental truth about human nature. People unconsciously categorize everyone they meet into two groups: leaders and followers. And the determining factor isn't your job title, your education, or your background. It's how you carry yourself. It's whether you move through the world seeking approval, or whether you move through the world creating your own path. When you act boldly, something incredible happens. You're essentially communicating to everyone around you that you're comfortable with who you are. You're showing them that you don't need their permission to be yourself. And here's the paradox that changes everything. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment people become most attracted to your energy. But let's address the elephant in the room. Why is being bold so terrifying for most people? It all comes down to one word: embarrassment. That crushing feeling you get when you think you've made a fool of yourself in front of others. But here's what's going to blow your mind. Embarrassment isn't actually about other people at all. When you feel embarrassed, what's really happening in your body? Your brain is triggering a chemical response. It's releasing stress hormones that create that awful feeling in your stomach, that heat in your face, that overwhelming desire to disappear. But here's the key insight. If those same chemicals were injected into your bloodstream right now, while you're alone watching this video, you'd feel the exact same embarrassment without anyone else being present. This means embarrassment isn't about other people's opinions. It's about your body's chemical reaction to a perceived threat. And once you understand this, everything changes.
Imagine right now you got the best news of your life. Let's just say you get a call and you find out you just made 500 million cash for you.
Because if embarrassment is just chemistry, then it's something you can learn to control. Think about this scenario. Two people slip and fall in public. The first person immediately feels mortified, turns red, and wishes they could vanish. Everyone around them starts laughing at their obvious discomfort. The second person gets up, brushes themselves off, and starts laughing at their own clumsiness. Suddenly, everyone's laughing with them instead of at them. Same situation, completely different outcomes. Why? Because people aren't reacting to what happened. They're reacting to how each person responded to what happened. This is one of the most powerful psychological principles you can ever learn. Other people's reactions mirror your own energy. If you approach a situation with confidence and humor, people will respond positively. If you approach it with fear and shame, people will pick up on that negative energy and react accordingly. This means you have way more control over social situations than you ever realized. Now, let me share something that completely transformed my understanding of social dynamics. Most people go through life assuming everyone is watching and judging their every move. But the reality is, most people are completely absorbed in their own thoughts, their own insecurities, their own concerns about how they're being perceived. That person you're worried might judge you? They're probably too busy worrying about whether their shirt looks weird or whether someone noticed that awkward thing they said 5 minutes ago. Everyone is essentially living in their own bubble of self-consciousness. Once you truly grasp this, it's incredibly liberating. You realize that the audience you've been performing for doesn't actually exist. People aren't sitting around analyzing your behavior and keeping score of your mistakes. They're dealing with their own stuff. This is where the mindset shift happens. Instead of seeing others as judges who hold power over your self-worth, you start seeing them more like background characters in your own story. They're not evil or unimportant. They're just focused on their own experiences, just like you are. When you adopt this perspective, something magical happens. You stop performing for an audience that was never really watching in the first place. You start making decisions based on what feels authentic to you, rather than what you think will gain approval from others. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you stop seeking approval, when you start operating from a place of genuine self-confidence, people actually become more attracted to your energy. It's counterintuitive, but true. The less you need their validation, the more they want to give it to you. This happens because confidence is magnetic. When someone is comfortable in their own skin, when they're not constantly seeking reassurance from others, it signals strength. And humans are naturally drawn to strength, even if they can't consciously articulate why. Now let's talk about how to actually develop this kind of boldness in real situations. The key is understanding that your body language directly influences your internal emotional state. If you force yourself to adopt confident posture, chest open, shoulders back, genuine smile, your brain actually starts producing the chemicals associated with confidence. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is using your body to trigger the right emotional state.
Men are simple, women are complicated. We simple. We too simple, actually. Let me tell you how to treat a woman.
When you catch yourself feeling nervous or embarrassed in a social situation, immediately adjust your posture. Stand taller, breathe deeper, let yourself smile. Your internal experience will start to shift within seconds. The beauty of this approach is that it works even when you don't feel confident initially. You're essentially hacking your own nervous system, using physical changes to create emotional changes. But developing true boldness goes beyond just managing embarrassment. It's about fundamentally changing how you see yourself in relation to the world around you. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who needs to fit in, you start seeing yourself as someone who gets to be authentically themselves, regardless of the situation. This means speaking up when you have something valuable to contribute, even if your voice shakes slightly. It means making eye contact even when your instinct is to look away. It means expressing your genuine thoughts and feelings instead of saying what you think others want to hear. Every time you choose the bold action over the safe action, you're rewiring your brain. You're proving to yourself that you can handle whatever consequences come from being authentic. And gradually, what once felt terrifying starts feeling natural. Here's something crucial to understand. Bold people aren't fearless. They feel the same fears as everyone else. The difference is, they've learned to act in spite of those fears. They've discovered that the anticipation of negative consequences is almost always worse than the actual consequences. Most of the time, when you take a bold action, one of two things happens. Either you get a positive response, which builds your confidence for next time, or you get a neutral or slightly negative response, which you quickly realize isn't nearly as devastating as you imagined it would be. The more you practice this, the more you realize that social rejection isn't actually dangerous. It might be momentarily uncomfortable, but it's not going to harm you in any lasting way. And this realization is incredibly freeing. When you're no longer afraid of other people's disapproval, you can finally start living according to your own values and desires. You can pursue the relationships, opportunities, and experiences that actually matter to you, rather than settling for whatever feels safest. This is how boldness becomes a superpower. It's not about being aggressive or attention-seeking. It's about being so comfortable with yourself that you can navigate